And we're back. Welcome to another episode of Standpoint. I'm Gabe Groisman, and I'm so excited to have with me today Mazi Pilip. Mazi is running for Congress, U.S. Congress, in the 3rd Congressional District of New York in Nassau County. That district is a district we're all familiar with. It was held by the infamous George Santos, who was ousted from the seat, and there's a special election just in a couple weeks. Mazi is in Miami. And I called her up and I said, Mazi, if you are in town, you got to come into the studio and talk with me so our listeners and viewers can watch and get to learn a little bit about you in this important race. So Mazi, welcome so much. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Gabe. Thank you for having me.
So I'm so excited that you're running. You have such a different background, so interesting in a time when identity politics seems to be ruling the day, something that I reject and many people in the Republican Party and conservative movement reject. But still, your background is so interesting. I think it adds so much to the conversation. So first, why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, where you come from, and how you ended up here.
Sure. Thank you. So I was born in Ethiopia. In 1991, when I was 12 years old, I immigrated to Israel in the middle of civil war. Israel and United States brought me and another 14,500 Ethiopian Jews to Israel. It was a big day, a day that we all were waiting to come to Israel. And that's the day, basically, for the first time, I got a better life, better opportunities. I went to school. After high school, I joined the IDF. I served at paratrooper brigade for 1 year and 9 months. Right after the army, I went to Haifa University to do my bachelor degree and then master degree in diplomacy and security.
Wow. And then after that, you ended up, when did you immigrate to the United States?
About 17 years ago, I met my husband. He was born in Ukraine, grew up in the United States, and he came to study medicine in Technion, north of Israel. We met, we had a great relationship, and then I moved in. Now I live in Great Neck. I have 7 children, and I serve as a Nassau County legislator.
Well, first of all, there's a lot to unpack there. So before we get into politics, I want to know who I'm sitting with. Even though we just had a lunch, got to know you a little bit. But first of all, 7 children is impressive. I have 5, and I'm usually the person with the most kids in the room. So 7 is amazing. What are the ages?
My oldest one is almost 16 next month. The youngest one is 2. I have twin girls, 4 boys and 3 girls, and you have 5. Not bad. You just have to keep, 2 more, and you're going to catch up to me.
Well, the factory's closed on our end. But my wife and I say that when people have twins or triplets, it's cheating. Right?
Listen, just one.
So why don't you tell us, I don't want to skip over the fact that you were born and really raised until you're 12 years old in Ethiopia. So tell us what life was like there, and you're Jewish as well, right?
Yes.
So what was it like to grow up in Ethiopia, as a Jewish Ethiopian? Just tell us a little bit about your life there.
Ethiopia, we had a very simple life. We were, it's like a simple lifestyle. You have a house, a small house, with running water or electricity. The lifestyle that we know here, a little bit access to education. So it was very, the simplest way you can imagine what life is about in Africa's countries. And that was my life until I was 12, and then a new chapter of my life started in 1991.
Yeah, and how many Ethiopian Jews were taken from Ethiopia in 91, 92, Operation Solomon, and then there was Operation Moses after, I believe, right? How many Ethiopian Jews made the journey?
I think in Operation Moses, which is 1986 about, 85, 86, I think about 8,000 Ethiopian Jews made it through Sudan. It was a secret operation too. People left Ethiopia secretly to Sudan. The Mossad was waiting for them, and then they made it. Unfortunately, about 4,000 Ethiopian Jews dead on the way from Ethiopia to Sudan. Some family member of my own family came through that. And then the biggest operation after that was in 1991, the secret operation when Israel and United States together, they decided to bring the Jewish people out because the civil war started, and it was very dangerous for the Ethiopian Jews to stay there because we were waiting to make Aliyah. The fact that the war started, they thought that's a very dangerous things for the Jewish people to stay there, and we came. And after that, was the other Aliyot, like people who immigrated to Israel, but small groups. the two operations, as I said, is Operation Moses and Operation Solomon.
So I remember we're about the same age, and I remember being in middle school and seeing the images of airplanes just stuffed with Ethiopians and Ethiopian Jews. And, as a Jewish American, I didn't really know there were Ethiopian Jews at the time. And just seeing this operation, bringing them to Israel, there's a lot spoken about whether there's racism in Israel or not. Of course, there's racism everywhere it exists. But why don't you tell us just a little before we transition into the U.S., what was your life like in Israel? What was that change from being in Ethiopia to being in Israeli society?
Of course, my life in Israel has been really a great experience. As I said, my family and I and the entire Ethiopian Jews community, we had a better life in Israel. But moving from third world country to a modern society was hard. We talking about like lifestyle that we never had, and all of a sudden we have to adjust to modern society, learning new language, new culture. It was hard at the beginning, but we got a lot of help. The Israeli government helped us a lot. Otherwise, I wouldn't even get to where I got in life, being able to finish high school, to go to join the IDF, and then to have my bachelor degree and master degree. That all accomplishment due to the help that the Israeli government provided me and many of my community. So our life was just much better. My parents had much better life. I'm very thankful. That was also one of the reasons I really wanted to join the IDF, because that was on the way, me giving back to the country that saved my life and gave me a better opportunity.
And that's where probably your strain of wanting to serve really came. People don't know that women in Israel do serve. They have to conscribe to the army, but many do civil service, do different types of jobs. You chose to be in a combat brigade, to be in paratroopers, and that's really just an impressive thing. Speaking to many Israelis, having lots of connections there, just the fact that you served in that unit in any capacity is just so impressive. So then you went along, you went to college after the military masters and moved to the U.S. You told me a little bit over lunch about how your career was really in the nonprofit sector. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. When I moved here, I was really dealing a lot. I was working with a lot of non-Jewish organizations, and the main focus was really to reach out to more Americans and tell something about Israel from my own experience. When you think of Israel, you think about white Jewish country. That's absolutely incorrect. In Israel, you see diversity. You see people from all over the world. In Israel, you have over 2 million Arab, Muslim, and Christian living in Israel. People don't know that. When I was talking about my experience, I was giving even the example of my best 3 friends in Haifa University. They were Muslim. Like Arab Muslim, they had the same opportunity, the same right like me and like any other Israeli. And Israel is just, a colorful country. And by working with a lot of nonprofit organizations, traveling around the country, going to churches, to synagogues, to schools, I was able to sharing my own experience. And this way, I was able to get to know Israel in a much effective way. I did it for a long time.
And your story is really the American story, right? The American story, it's now sort of getting mishmash. People are forgetting what it really is, right? But being an open society, we're bringing people in through legal immigration, of course, and the American dream, where you can buy into the idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and freedoms and personal freedoms. And you came to America and you had this incredible life. Tell us a little bit about how your transition to America was and how America received you.
Oh, I love this country. This country has been a beautiful and amazing country for me and my husband. As I said, he was born in Ukraine, grew up here. He became a doctor. He's a cardiologist. This country just a land of opportunity. When you say everybody can achieve the American dream, it's absolutely so true. Because I never thought I would be the candidate for Congress. Never in my life. If somebody would ask me or if somebody was telling me like 30 years ago, Mazi, one day, from the village of Ethiopia, one day you will go to America and you will be the candidate for Congress, I will think that person absolutely something's wrong with him. But that's a beautiful thing, in this country with hard work, and a vision, everyone can do it. And I'm doing it as an immigrant, and I was immigrated twice. English is my third language. Okay, I speak Amharic, which is Ethiopian language, Hebrew, and then English. It's not easy. But again, if you are focused, if you're really understanding and appreciating life and appreciating what freedom is about and appreciating what hard work is about, nothing can stop you. This is the land of the opportunity. This is where you can live the American dream. And I am that example.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's an incredible message to hear. What's interesting is if you think about it, I grew up in this country. I was born in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital. My parents are immigrants from Argentina. But that message that you just shared about how anyone can achieve the American dream with hard work and education and working and believing in the right things and building a family is a message we heard constantly growing up. But somehow that's gone away. Yeah. Civics aren't taught in our schools anymore. You hear even members of Congress today talking bad about our own country, and it seems like they're not even proud to be in our country, which begs the question, right, as to why people are even here that don't like being here. So to hear your story as an immigrant who came here almost 20 years ago, a twice over immigrant, right? And you came over here almost 20 years ago and built a family, 7 kids, your husband's a doctor, you had a career in nonprofit, but you didn't come straight, you didn't go straight from nonprofit into this race for Congress. You're already working in the public sector. You're an elected county legislator now, right?
Yes.
In Nassau County?
Yes.
When did that happen? Why'd you make that decision, and how's that been?
Of course. But before that, I would like to go back to what you're saying. And it's very sad to see how we lost the American values in this country of hardworking, respect to law enforcement, and really supporting our military and loving our country. And we don't see that with the young generation. All of a sudden, we are learning, like as our country is a bad country, and it's unfortunate. They don't have a clue what's happening outside of this country.
Yeah,
they don't know.
Just to respond to that, you see people marching and speaking at college campuses, Ivy Leagues and otherwise, about what's happening, not just in Israel, anywhere else in the world, as if it's something better. And it's not. America is the greatest country in the world, and somehow people are forgetting that. They don't see it. They live on TikTok. They get their information in 20-second snippets, which is actually one of the reasons we started this podcast. We can have like real discussions about real issues and actually start understanding things. Now the question is, how do you grab people's attention to get there? But I think the more we can put out good ideas, put people in office like you that share those visions and share those ideas and get it out there to the public as much as possible, it's all we can do to try to affect and impact our society.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. We have a lot of work to do because this generation and the way our country is going is really in the wrong direction. Something's very much concern me. I'm trying to educate my children, telling them my own story, telling my husband's story, that we didn't have nothing in life. Our starting point was so low. And if we accomplish that, you guys can touch everything you want. Don't tell me you cannot do that. Do not. I'm not going to believe that. There is no way I will accept it. This is the expectation. You were born to a beautiful and amazing life. You just have to take the opportunity, work hard, and see how you can give back to the country that's giving you the opportunity to practice freedom. And when we see now what's happening in our streets, even from the last attack that Hamas attacked Israel, and then you see these protesters around the country destructing the American life by closing bridges and highways in New York, and then attacking NYPD and taking the American flag down. And I can tell you as a soldier, I just cannot believe that, how this happening. How dare we are allowing them to take the American flag down? How many people died for us to practice freedom, to practice the right of protesting? And then here I go, we just lost the respect to our country. That's a big problem, is a big concern. And I would like to see more people like me who has a love and a respect to this country to speak out, and let's encourage, let's raise strong kids, a strong generation who love this country, a generation that's willing to work hard and to continue to build this beautiful country. And then just to go back to how I end up.
Before you do, I'm just smiling when you're saying this because there's a comedian from Miami, and I hate that I can't remember his name. Justin, if you know it, tell me. There's a comedian from Miami who was on Saturday Night Live who has a skit that's unbelievable that he does on stand-up where his parents are Cuban.
Okay.
And he says, when you're the son of Cuban immigrants to the United States, you're not allowed to have a bad day. You come home and you say, Ma, I had a bad day. And she says, what happened? Did someone try to take away your freedom today? So it sounds a little bit about the kind of discussions you have with your kids.
It's true because, we stop appreciating things. We stop, understanding what life is about. We start to take things for granted, and that's a problem.
Yeah, the comedian is Marcelo. I can't remember his last name, but
I think I saw that. I do remember that.
What's that?
Yes.
Marcelo Hernandez, amazing.
Because
hilarious.
His parents know that,
yes.
They know that. They never had that. And now here I go, you have it. You can't complain. Just work hard.
So tell us, why'd you run for county legislator?
So about 3 years ago, there was a conflict between Israel and Hamas. Over 3,000 rockets was sent from Gaza to Israel within like 10 days. While Israel was trying to deal with Hamas, a terrorist organization that we all know, anti-Semitism was rising. And I was shocked. I was shocked because here ago you have a terrorist organization who started the attack, sending over 3,000 rockets to kill civilians, and then anti-Semitism rising. And my son, he was getting ready for bar mitzvah. And I asked him, what do you like to get from your grandpa and grandma from Israel as a gift for your bar mitzvah? He said, I would like to have a necklace with Star of David. And I was very proud of him because I thought he was going to ask me something fancy, like the way like a lot of kids will ask it. And the fact that he wanted that simple things for, from his grandpa and grandma, I was very proud of him, but deep down, I was very concerned to give it to him. I said, how I can give it to you, something like this? What about if somebody will, attack you just because they're going to see the Star of David? And I said to myself, that's so wrong. Why? In 2023, back then was 2021, everybody's life so protected in this our beautiful country. Why I, as a mother, have to think twice about this? My husband, grandparents from his mother's side, they are Holocaust survivors. I met my husband's grandmother before she passed away. She told me a little bit about what she went through as a girl and how she survived. And then every year you have, the day you're remembering the Holocaust and you see movies and you're trying to explain your children, how come that's happened? Over 6 million people just got killed, murdered because they were Jews. And then when I see the anti-Semitism, it really bothered me. And I said, that's wrong. I can't raise my children like this. And I decided to be involved. I said, I have a voice. I have to stand up. I have to have a voice as a person of color, as a woman, as a mother, as a person who grew up in Israel, knows the culture in Israel, knows life in Israel. And then as a person also who got to know from immediate family that survived the Holocaust, which is my husband's grandma, I said, I have to do something. I'm not going to be silent. Therefore, I started to be involved, and I won for the first time the seat in the 10th district in Nassau County. I was with 5 children and pregnant with twins. Nobody thought I'm going to do that, but I had a great victory. And the last 2 years, I have been very much active in Nassau County, engaging myself, being available for people, taking care of people's issue, fighting hate and anti-Semitism, working with law enforcement, understanding, people's concern. And just about 3 months ago, I re-elected again, big time. This time, Republican and Democrat came and supported me. And then now the seat was available. And again, the world is upside down. We see a lot of internal issue here with migrant, law enforcement, and our economy. And then around the world, you see what's happening, how Russia attacked Ukraine, and then Hamas attacked Israel. I felt this is the time for me to be a voice in the national level.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy you're doing that. I think,
Thank you.
First of all, the reason why I asked you all those questions first of all, is because I'm genuinely curious and I'm a curious person. But also, Congress is one of these things where you're not president of the United States when you win and become a congressperson. You're one of many, and you have to be part of this complex system that's hard to understand and harder to navigate inside. So I think it's critical for voters to understand who the people are that are sitting in Congress. What's your story? Where are you coming from? Because issues are going to come and go. Trends are going to come are going to go up and down. But who you are as a person is what really anchors you, or should anchor you. And for you, it obviously does, right? And that to help you inform the decisions you're going to make when you get into these issues. So for me, those questions, our discussion of your background and your family and where you're from and your belief system, are more important than any specific issue, because that's who you are as a person. It's how you're going to deal with it. But you are running for Congress. So what are the from the issue perspective, you can't tackle every issue.
Yeah.
Right? When you're in Congress, I've had the opportunity to be friends with many Congress people, and people just have like their pet projects. They're things that they really spend their time on. What are the issues that you want to spend your time on if you win and you're elected as a member of Congress?
Of course. So for my 3rd Congressional District residents, the biggest concerns right now is migrants, illegal migrants that's coming from the border. Since President Biden took place, we see millions coming in. Unvetted migrants, we don't know if they're terrorists, we don't know if they're criminals, but we know for sure the amount of drugs that's coming from the borders, killing our children left and right. Is a big number with deadly drugs like fentanyl. That is a mother for 7 children. I'm very much worried about that. Because of Biden, and again, in this case, even my opponent, Tom Suozzi, who was in Congress, and he was in majority Congress, he supported 100% President Biden to open the border. And that's big issue. And then in the same time, we also have a problem of safety in New York. Again, we came to the point that we are more soft with the criminals, and then understanding the concern of law-abiding citizens. That's a big concern for the district. They want to feel comfortable in their own street, and it's not happening. We see crime left and right. We see police officers, even in YPD, officers leaving every month the department because they don't want to serve. Or with all this defunding the police movement, it's really hurting and taking the tools that our law enforcement's having is at the end of the day is hurting our safety, and that's a big concern. Now, I'm all about working, collaborating with law enforcement and community, bringing people together. And I'm also all about that government should oversight, law enforcement agencies. But I am against defunding the police movement. That's absolutely not what I would like to see. Again, if I go back to my, my starting point as a child who grew up in Ethiopia, when the law enforcement is not really law enforcement, anything can happen to you, and you just don't have nobody to protect you. I don't want that lifestyle for my children.
Yeah, on the law enforcement point, it's interesting because like when I served as mayor here, one of the most interesting parts, and I'm sure you felt this in Nassau County, is working with your local police departments. And we had our own police chief, our own department, and really helping develop policy towards safety and public safety. And really the idea, or I developed the understanding that in the law enforcement community, top down really matters, right? So the messaging that they're getting from their members of Congress or their mayors or their governors or the president, it affects their everyday lives on the streets. And when they have that support, it's invaluable. And that's why it's not really just a talking point to say you support the police. Obviously, you support them with funds and with programs and with resources that they need. But it's also vocally, it's also standing by their sides. And not, of course, there needs to be oversight. There's always bad actors in every space in the world, right? We have to deal with the bad actors. But as a whole, law enforcement, it's the toughest job on the planet, at least in our country. And it's poorly paid, very dangerous, and people give their lives literally to keep us safe. So I mean, that's an important. So you have law enforcement and immigration. Any other issues that are important to you?
And improving our economy. Inflation's too high, and the people really feeling it every time when they go to the grocery, when you have to fill out your gas. Forget about even thinking of saving for the future. Again, President Biden fell big time on those 3 issues, and we need a good majority right now to go back to DC to fix those issues, and I'm willing to be that voice. I'm a fresh voice. I'm not a politician. I'm not a career politician like my opponent. He has been there 6 years. He wanted to run for a governor position. He lost. Now he would like to go back. The 3rd Congressional District residents want a fresh voice, a mother, a fighter, a person who really doing this job because I want to be a voice. I would like to deliver. I don't like to talk. This is what I did in the last 2 years. I talk less, I deliver more. And the people really saw that what I was able to accomplish in the last 2 years as a county legislator.
I mean, I and everybody watching would love to see you on the floor in Congress speaking after AOC or Rashida or any of the squad members trying to bring up color women. I'm a woman of color, and that's why this is happening. This is happening. You can stand up and really respond in the way they only understand the world through the lens of identity. And someone like you can really flip that on its head. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap?
Yeah, just to go back to the squad, the squad members. It's unfortunate to see anti-American, anti-Semitic, and they're spreading the hate. And this is exactly they have been doing in the last few years. And it's very, very sad to see that. And I'm very excited to go to DC. I'm excited to show the beautiful America. Yes, you're right. Nobody's perfect. No country is perfect. We as a society, we have things to fix, but we're going to fix it. But we're going to fix it while we're loving our country, appreciating this beautiful country.
So tell me the last thing I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Because there's lots of discussions always in many circles that I run in. What's the right age to run for Congress? Traditionally, you do it when you're old and gray and you have no kids at home. And we know the American people don't really love that, but it's easier because you have no one at home. You have 7 kids at home. You live in New York. There'll be a lot of traveling back and forth. Some people would say you're crazy to run for Congress. Tell us a little bit about why you're so open and willing to make that sacrifice.
Just to let you know, mothers, we are fighters. The fact that we are mothers, we have something that others, the life experience you coming with this is a big deal. And then as a parent, as a mother also, you have obligation. You're doing it because you want a better future for your children. When you see the country going to the wrong direction, you feel like the urgency of I want to fix it. That's wrong. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And unfortunately, the elected officials that's representing us and many of them in Congress, they don't doing that in the right way. They're doing it in absolutely in the wrong way. And that's a problem. And just to let you know, about 3 weeks ago, I was in DC and I met a lot of women power, mothers, Congress members who decided to run. And they're holding this position and they're collaborating, between being a mother and a wife and also serving the American people. So I'm a big believer I can do it and every woman can do that. Nothing should stop us. The fact that we're a mother doesn't mean we have to prevent ourselves or stop ourselves from achieving our goals, the personal goals as well. So there is a way to do it. You need a strong family. You need a supportive husband and also supportive family members. And I have that, and I'm very excited to be able to go to the next level.
So you have me smiling a second time because I'm the father of 5 daughters.
And I have a big respect to you.
And I am going to play that clip for them over and over and over.
Oh, yeah.
Because women can absolutely accomplish anything. You can still have a family. There's nothing more important than having a family and building a beautiful family, but still accomplish your goals at the same time without sacrificing one or the other. So it's really so nice to hear. Listen, it's an honor. It's an honor that we have with us Mazi Pilip here. You heard the conversation. It's not often someone of this caliber runs for Congress. We speak to many members of Congress here off the air before this podcast. Hopefully in the future you'll hear many more. And this is really someone that I feel personally is very special. And I'm very excited for her and for her campaign for the 3rd Congressional District of New York. Mazi Pilip, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Gabe, for having me.